I've been back in the UK for a few days now after the trip to New York with Virgin Atlantic. The experience that we had with Virgin was so awful, just the worst experience that I've ever had with an airline. It's taken me a long time to muster up the ability to go through the audio files that I have of our experience, because honestly it was so distressing. It was just the worst. I've never ever been treated like that before. um, I'll take you through what happened and then I'll let you listen to the audio files. So I pre-booked in advance the special assistance with somebody helping me to do so, um, over the phone. And when I booked that, I specifically booked wheelchair assistance for my son because, especially at airports, he can have mobility issues. He can get really overwhelmed, and not be able to get up, basically flops on the floor and doesn't get up. It's really hard for him. So I booked that for him, and then I booked just general assistance for me to enable us to get on and off the plane, right? Because airports in particular are so difficult for me from a sensory perspective, from the fact that I've got a million demands to deal with to get us to where we need to go on time, and then dealing with my son's needs on top. So there was a reason why I booked it in advance, because there was no way I would have been able to deal with that on the spot. I just don't have capacity on the spot to do any of that. So we flew from Heathrow to JFK. We got to Heathrow extremely early. I always get there extremely early to allow for any discrepancies or issues that might come up due to having disabilities. You know that you need extra time anyway, right, to process things, etc. When I got to Heathrow, I went straight to the assistance area, and they told me that they're very busy, and they looked at my son and they said, "Are you sure he needs a wheelchair?" So they kind of from the get-go made me feel like guilty is not the word, but they kind of made me feel obligated to not take the assistance. And I didn't want to be waiting there for ages either and then miss the flight. So what I did was I checked us in after that, and upon check-in with the bags, I then informed them that we have special assistance booked, so could they please get the special assistance. They walked off with both of our boarding passes. The member of staff, she walked off with both the boarding passes at that point, and was never seen again. So this was really frustrating because I was just left standing there and no assistance actually came. So in the end, the member of staff that was at the check-in printed off 2 new boarding passes for me, and I essentially was forced to navigate without any special assistance for my son. And that then, you know, created a situation where I was already feeling drained, and, you know, my capacity was lessened because I just didn't have that special assistance. We got on the plane, you know, honestly, I'm actually really proud of my son because I think he did amazingly on that flight, considering that it was a long haul flight. It wasn't, you know, short flight or anything. It was a long haul flight, and he did very, very well. He just basically persisted to stim during the flight, to be honest. You know, stimming, he had to get up a few times, he was jumping on the spot, he wasn't running up and down the aisles, he wasn't causing anyone any issues. You know, and when he talks, he has quite a loud voice because that's just the nature of who he is. When he speaks, he has a loud voice. He wasn't screaming, he wasn't doing any of this. He simply got to a point, I would say 3/4 of the way into the flight, where he had a bit of a tiff, I would say for a few minutes, where he started to lash out at me a little bit. And so I had to raise my voice in an assertive way to tell him to stop, because he also has auditory processing issues, right? Delayed processing in his auditory perception. So if I was to say to him, you know, in a mid-tone, you know, or a monotone voice, like, please don't do that, he's not going to understand or listen to what I'm saying. So sometimes I do actually have to make that adjustment where I elevate my voice in an assertive way so that he can hear, he knows the urgency of the matter, and that helps him to then re-regulate and come back to his space. And it was just a boundary that I was putting down for him, you know, and I said to him, that will not be allowed. You can't lash out at me, you can't hit me, you're allowed to feel what you're feeling, you're allowed to feel angry and frustrated, but I can't help you unless you find other ways, and I'm here to help you find other ways. That's basically what I said. A person on the aircraft complained about this and said that it was too noisy. So I then had the air hostess come up to me and tell me to keep my son more quiet. So I brought all of this to the attention of the manager on board the aircraft by this point, because what I didn't want to happen was for this individual to continue basically harassing me for the remainder of the flight. Because to me, to have somebody come up and tell me that in front of the entire cabin, it was humiliating. It made me feel on edge. It made me feel that I had been, you know, well, I was like selected and shown to others on that flight that I was doing something wrong when I actually hadn't done anything wrong. So how that could have been handled is, actually, if they insist on notifying me of it, which I don't believe I needed to be notified, if that was the case, then I should have been taken to one side away from other passengers and the situation explained to me in a way that didn't create stress or humiliation, but instead it was a humiliating experience, and it created distress and made the situation harder for everyone. So I brought all of this up with the manager. I'll put in the audio so that you can listen to it for yourself.
Okay, hi. Thank you. To be completely honest with you, I've had a really bad experience from the get-go. So when we first initially arrived at the airport, so I booked special assistance last week, I believe. So everything was already communicated to them with regards to needs and disability.
Absolutely.
I informed the checkout desk that was booked. They didn't have any knowledge of it. There was no communication. So therefore, it was quite difficult.
What's your surname, ma'am?
Isaiah. I-S-A.
I can see it because I told the crew about it in the briefing this morning. So we as a crew were aware of you.
Okay. So initially, from when we came in, they weren't aware. So one of the members of staff literally just walked off without boarding pass.
Right.
I asked for somebody to come and help us. And I was just left there, stood waiting for a long period of time. No one came. And then I went to the assistants upstairs in Heathrow, you know, like Heathrow's assistant desk itself.
Yes.
And they also weren't very helpful because they were very busy.
Sure.
And they said, you know, could my son walk? He'll be absolutely fine by himself. So I actually didn't get any assistance at all through the airport itself. So I had to navigate. I'm autistic also.
To my knowledge, that's not something that Virgin can do. Something called Meet and Assist. Wilson James, that are part of Heathrow Airport Limited, who manage our physical needs, they literally only push the wheelchairs and manoeuvre people in and out the seats. There is no Meet and Assist service through Heathrow Airport Limited. Virgin Atlantic, I'll be completely honest with you, we don't really have the resources, the ground staff resources, to be able to meet and assist everybody.
That's not what I was told.
Okay.
When I spoke to someone on the phone, I was told point blank I would have somebody help assist me through the airport. So that's what I had come to expect was going to happen. It's also a reasonable adjustment.
I'm so sorry.
So initially this happened. And again, I thought, okay, you know, this was a bad experience. I wasn't going to do anything further with it. When we were seated on the plane, I've had a number of issues happen. Initially, my son was actually hit on the head with one of the staff was just walking past and had a plastic box that they were carrying. I'm not sure whether or not he
Right,
whatever.
right.
But however it happened, I didn't actually witness. I just witnessed when he hurt his head.
Mhm.
And rather than apologising, he was just met with, "Oh well, you should be careful there." And I found that to be quite rude.
I will find out further from my crew about that man. I haven't been informed of anything of that nature by my crew, but I will certainly talk to them and find out what happened.
I guess
No, but they certainly
not that
should be
it's-
responding to you like that. No,
It's
absolutely.
not just one incident, it's more a case of because there's been so many things happen. And then
Yes.
just now, I had a member of staff come up to me with everyone else, all the other passengers present, telling me to keep my son quiet because someone had complained.
Yeah.
And obviously they should be aware of my son's
Absolutely.
needs.
The reason that my colleague came to you, because she came straight to me and told me, which is why I've now come straight to you. We've got 211 customers on this plane. I've been flying for 25 years, pretty much every sector. It's so common now, with people being more diagnosed now more than ever. Pretty much every sector we have someone with additional needs, whether it's ADHD or autism. We've had training in it and we try to be as sensitive as possible. Unfortunately, the general public don't have that empathy.
I understand,
And somebody
but the
went
response-
to my colleague and said, "Can you please ask that mother to
Okay,
lower?"
but but in that instance, what she should have said to that person who doesn't have the awareness is, "I understand what you're saying, but this is a disabled passenger."
I
and there's a
believe that she
reason for
did.
that."
She did.
And they still
This is why I'm
persisted?
talking to you, because you've only heard half the story.
Okay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as I said to you, some of the general public do not have an understanding of additional needs, such as autism or ADHD. So they just think it's noise and bad behaviour. You don't need me to tell you how to suck eggs. I know that you don't.
I know, but
But we have to balance the needs of everybody on board this aircraft, ma'am. It's quite busy
you
down there.
you can't tell an autistic child
Oh, no,
to not stim.
I hear you.
And so
I
what
hear you.
I'm saying, or to not be dysregulated, what I'm saying is that action of then coming and telling me that was not needed and actually made it worse.
It was to try to balance the needs of
It wouldn't
everybody,
have,
ma'am.
though, because actually I've been trying to balance everyone's needs from the beginning of sitting down. I can't prevent my autistic child from being autistic.
Of course
Okay,
you can't.
so
No,
to
of
be
course.
told that I need to silence my child who has these needs, who cannot do that in that moment, and I'm trying to regulate my child, and then be met with judgment from people, makes it 100 million times worse.
But my colleague wouldn't have been doing her job if she hadn't come discreetly to you and mentioned that. We have to look at both sides, ma'am, and we have to speak to both parties, which is what my colleague did. And she came straight to me to tell me what she'd done. So it wouldn't be right of us to also ignore.
I don't understand how it's the right approach, because this happened once. Okay, my son was not running up and down, screaming, nothing
sure.
of that nature. He actually was dysregulated for about maybe 10 seconds max. Okay,
Absolutely.
and I had to speak to him in the way that I spoke to him in order to make sure that he knew my boundaries.
Absolutely.
And that's just down to their issue. It's got nothing to do with me. So
Absolutely.
I
No, I
disagree
hear
that
you.
it should have been communicated to me. I think the approach would have been, okay, go back to the person and say, I
Can I
understand
just
what you're
say-
saying. If this situation escalates, then we can address it. But there was literally no need for that. My son wasn't running and screaming down the aisles, wasn't hitting people, wasn't
Now,
doing
I can
anything
see
of that
both
nature.
sides of this, okay? As a balanced person, I can see both sides. That's a very experienced flight attendant. We have to manage the needs of everybody, particularly yourself and your son. However, if my colleague had just gone, this child is autistic, there's nothing I can do, how does that look to the whole rest of the cabin? Everybody watches everything. What you have to understand from us as a crew is that we have to be seen to be managing the situation. If one person isn't happy, we'll go and talk to another person about what's made them
I
unhappy.
didn't say
And
to
if
say
you're
that,
not,
did I?
if
I
you're
didn't
no, but
say-
if you're unhappy, that's why I'm talking to you now. We
I
have to
didn't
take
say-
a balanced view.
I didn't say that the right approach was to simply say, I'm not going to do anything because that child's autistic. The right approach would have been to de-escalate that individual who had escalated the situation.
She already has. She already has. You don't know the full story. You have to trust me here, okay? And you have to try and let it go. These things awfully happen in life, and people don't understand, and they don't want to understand, which is the hard heart-wrenching. But unfortunately, when people are squashed into an aircraft cabin, they lose their patience quicker than they would on the ground. And I'm not saying it's all right, because it's not. But my colleague did the right thing by talking to both parties.
I think the way that she approached me could have changed then
Sure,
in that instance, because
fair enough.
if she needed to notify me, that's absolutely fine.
Sure.
But it was the way that she notified me. She should have perhaps said, look, you know, I understand that you have special assistants. I understand this is the case, but I'm wanting to let you know that this is what's happened, just so that you're aware of it. But actually, how it was phrased to me was, you know, this person's put in this complaint. Can you please make sure there's no more noise or something? I'm paraphrasing.
It's all in the it's in the wording.
And to me,
I understand.
that felt humiliating because there was other people on the carriage, and it
Don't worry
felt
about
like
what other
she
people
didn't
think,
know.
though. Don't worry about it.
Well, I'm not worried, but it's more like I shouldn't have to come up against that, to be honest.
I understand.
So it's about how it was actually.
So is it fair to
phrased.
say, the wording was wrong?
Yeah.
No, and I'm glad that you spoke to me about this, because then I in turn can speak to her. I don't think there was any malice or any deliberate selfishness on my colleague's part. I think she did what she thought was right, and unfortunately,
I don't think it was malice at
you
all.
learn
I don't think
learn
so at
these
all.
things with experience. And I have quite a new crew, and she will learn.
That's fine.
And she tried to address it the best she could.
She was a bit taken aback. She said, okay, fine. You know, so I can see
Which is why she's come to me to speak to you. Because that's my job.
But just for future reference, if there's any issues, I think there's a better way of addressing it.
I completely agree. I hear you. I do. I agree with you. I'm glad that you talked to me. With regards to the airport experience, I can certainly feed that back both to special assistants and customer relations, just in case I'm giving you the wrong information. But from my experience of having worked at Heathrow for over 20 years, we genuinely don't have the ground staff bodies to be able to do it, which is why we stopped the unaccompanied minor programme, because again we didn't have the people available to escort underage children.
This comes down to miscommunication.
It does, 100% it does.
Whoever's been doing the admin on that end.
Yes, I agree. That's why I'll feed it back.
Okay.
I will 100% feed that back. Please, take that as my pledge. I will feed this back to special assistants, so it doesn't. I know it doesn't help the experience that you had this morning.
Can I just ask as well, is there anything that you can do to make sure that situation is de-escalated for the rest of the flight? Because I can perceive this, whoever it is probably going to have further issue.
Let me speak to my colleague and find out who initially it was.
Okay.
Yes, and I will certainly go and speak to he or she, whoever it was. I'll find out.
Actually, to be honest, I think my son's doing amazing. Given
I hear you. I
the
do.
needs.
And
absolutely. From the minute we've got on the flight, I've been saying to him, you know, try and keep it down, but he can only do so much.
Absolutely. It's unfortunate that, I mean, please don't get me wrong, I'm not trained, but I have studied it a little bit. But people that have no understanding, unfortunately, as I said, just think it's bad behaviour, when you and I know full well that it's not. So you know that you're doing the best you can. Your son knows he's doing the best he can. So don't let people get to you.
Just try, It's just I don't
you're
want
doing
to
the best you can.
have that situation keep popping up throughout the rest of the flight. You know?
It won't. It's been, but I will certainly find out from my colleague who it was and have a quiet word with them.
All right, thank you.
Good. No, I shall feed it back. Thank you for coming to speak to me. No, not at all. Can I get you anything else? Are you okay? Do you want snacks or anything?
Maybe just a drink of water.
Yeah, of course. Do you want a couple of cans? Is that helpful?
Yeah, actually, I've got a bottle of water. I'll just fill that up.
Yeah, let's do that. Yes, thank you. Do you want to take one of these, ma'am? Or do you want me to fill your bottle? Whatever you're comfortable with.
Do you know what? If that's okay, I'll just take my
please
one and
do.
give it to them as well.
Anything else, please ask me.
Okay.
And I'll come straight down. I'm here to support you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for talking to me.
Thank you.
So fast forward now to actually getting off the plane. I was fully expecting the issues to have been rectified by this point. I was fully expecting, you know, the assistants to be ready and waiting when we got off, for my son to have the wheelchair assistance. What actually transpired was that there was only one wheelchair assistance, which was there, ready, waiting for my friend. So I'm glad that she at least had that, but there was nobody there for my son. And I asked this lady who was, you know, pushing the wheelchair for my friend, my son also has one, you know, we booked it, and she said, no, it's not booked. Literally walked away and left all of the hand luggage for my friend. Everything was just in a big pile, and she just walked off. She didn't even wait for me. She didn't even, you know, go and check anything. And she expected me to carry all of the stuff and deal with my son's needs and my friend's son as well, who also has needs. You know, and as you can hear in the descriptions of the audios, which go into this in a bit more detail, you know, a bag was also lumbered on my friend's 7-year-old child, you know, which is completely unacceptable. I was then asked by a secondary member of Virgin staff, do you have assistance booked? By that point, I was tapped out. I just didn't have the capacity to answer the question. And I just said, I don't think it's booked, or I don't think so. I think I said, I don't think so, because I was confused. There was staff standing around and I didn't know what was going on. I then was forced to carry everybody's cases, mine and my friends, and the hand luggage, everything, in an airport that I've never been to before, and managing my son's needs, who by this point was highly distressed, highly dysregulated, because he needed a wheelchair. And it was a very, very, very stressful situation. And I ended up, you know, pretty much breaking down crying because I was so stressed. By that point, this other member of Virgin staff tried to help, you know, without getting the wheelchair. Which by that point you should have triggered the wheelchair, right? But she, you know, tried to tell my son to be good and, you know, listen to me and stuff, but he couldn't, because he needed a wheelchair basically. So he wasn't able to even do that. And, you know, she did her best. It wasn't in any malice. She was trying to do what she could, but by that point there wasn't a procedure or a protocol actually followed. I'll let you listen to the audio of what happened, because we missed our connecting flight. So we were supposed to go to Miami as a connecting flight. We didn't go. We ended up not going. So yeah, I'll let you listen to the audio.
Hi, I need to speak to someone, please. I need to speak to maybe a manager or something. I have a really serious issue. Absolutely. So we had a flight booked with yourselves. We came from London Heathrow to JFK. Special assistance booked for all of us. And basically we didn't receive any special assistance. We then missed our connecting flight. We're now stranded. To cut a long story short.
You just came up on the first flight? You know which flight?
Yeah, I don't know the flight number.
Do you have a boarding card or something?
Yeah.
Showing the power so on.
So, this is myself and my son. This is a different flight. Sorry, let me get you.
Yeah.
So it's this one. This was the one that we were.
Yeah, of course. Copy the Delta bag.
So for myself and my son, I booked one wheelchair and I booked special assistance to help us get in and out off the plane, essentially, right? My friend here had a wheelchair booked, and her son also has disabilities, so also needed help. What actually happened in practice is that none of us got any assistance. The only person was my friend here. She had a wheelchair. But everything else was literally thrown on me to deal with as a disabled person. All these bags, everything I was told I had to do this, carry them. Even they were giving him, he's only 7, they're giving him all the bags to carry. And now we missed our flight and we're stuck here.
I do apologize. Just give me 1 minute.
Alright, thank you.
I just need a
What happened? The lady
even he looked annoyed, you know, because he's not annoyed at me, but annoyed at what they did, because it's really bad.
and the lady that was with Marianne, she and was walking.
I want a refund
She's
for my flight.
the lady,
Had issues with the whole flight.
Serenity.
Darling.
The lady that was walking with Amari. The lady that
Come and stand with Jack. Jack's trying to talk.
the lady that was walking with us down the hall when my mum was in the wheelchair. When we got to where when I was holding our suitcase, she took it off me and didn't even ask.
How?
She just like took it off me.
She yanked your arm.
Yeah. And she didn't even say please or thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Well, he's going to speak to someone else to figure out what to do, I guess. But ultimately, I want them to give us a transfer to a decent hotel, not like a horrible place, somewhere half decent, so we can get some rest with a taxi transfer with somebody assisting us to the taxi, and make sure that the flight is reversed, quite frankly, because I've been treated less than nothing today. I think.
Me too.
It's so rude, like just throwing all the bags on the floor and just walking away.
Me 17,000.
Hi.
My name is Chloe, I'm the manager.
Hi.
Can I help you?
If you don't mind just, if you don't mind just explaining back on the frame.
Okay, just to say before I do that, it's really hard for me to keep repeating the same thing. I'm very tired. I also have disabilities myself, so to keep relaying the same thing. If you have to get anyone else, can you please fill them in?
Well, I don't know what's going on, so that's why I'm trying to
Okay.
find out what's going on.
Okay, so we got the flight, which is what the boarding pass is for. Special assistance was booked for all of us.
What type of special assistance?
So for myself and my son's autistic, I'm also autistic.
Okay.
For my son, I booked wheelchair assistance, and just for us in general, assistance to make sure that we could get on and off the plane.
Okay.
This was confirmed a week beforehand, so there was well enough time to organise. For my friend and her son, she had wheelchair assistance booked for herself and assistance for her son as well, because she has similar disabilities to myself. What happened in practice was I had no special assistance boarding the plane, none whatsoever. When I got off the plane, again there was no special assistance, but to make it worse was that not only was there no special assistance, I was told that I had to deal with all of the luggage for everybody, and my friend's son was literally like loaded with bags. None of them were helping us, and we missed our connecting flight. When I booked the assistance initially, I stressed to them, please make sure that this is in place, because we will miss our flight if it's not. And lo and behold, we're stuck here now.
So you said you booked the wheelchair was for you or for?
So we had two wheelchairs in total. So there was one for my friend and one for my son.
And you didn't get any wheelchair assistance?
No.
Did you speak to any other staff at the aircraft?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I did.
Okay, so what happened?
Yeah, and they basically just said like unless it was a physical issue, like a physical disability, it's not booked through that.
Who told you that?
Whoever was on board, I don't know.
On board the aircraft?
Yeah.
Or when you got here and got off the aircraft? Someone
Yeah,
told you
because
that?
I raised the issue when I was on the aircraft about not having assistance.
I like your phone
en
case.
route. So that was already raised at that point.
Yeah.
And she just said it's just part of their policy. They don't do it like
Wait, do you want to...
That's incorrect
Wait, I want to see
information.
if I can find
Someone
my
requests a
phone. That
wheelchair
one.
regardless of what
That's
it
my
is. you
favorite
provide
one.
a
Which one is
wheelchair.
that?
Okay, so I'm not quite sure why someone, would tell you that. I do apologize on behalf of the misinformation that they might have given you.
And I also like...
Pertaining to the bags, we don't take care of bags. If that part of it, any bags or anything like that, that will be on you. But like I said, pertaining to the wheelchair, we're responsible to provide a wheelchair.
So if someone has a wheelchair and they have bags, what happens to the bags?
Then the person that has the wheelchair, they would assist you with it.
Yeah, but
But-
she had bags and I had to carry her bags.
Yeah, but you said you didn't have a wheelchair, correct?
Yeah, but I booked a wheelchair. Like that's what I dealt with over the phone.
All right, so this is what I'm saying. When you got here to JFK and got off the aircraft, did you speak to any of the ground staff here?
What do you mean? Like I got off and I don't understand. Like
So if you got off the aircraft, no one is just gonna know that you need a wheelchair.
Yes, they are, because I booked it in advance.
Miss-
That's what I'm saying. I booked it a week beforehand.
Is it okay if we just step over here?
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
Basically, I just need this resolved because we're now stranded because of this.
So what I'm saying to you is, if I'm the ground staff here, or you're coming to me even here, I can't just assume you need a wheelchair. I won't know that. Even though you booked it in the system, I don't know who you are. Unless you come to me and say, hey, my name is XYZ, I need a wheelchair. We provide a wheelchair. But if it is that you step off the aircraft, and
Let me check what we said, because I can't remember even what we said. Did I or not say that I booked a wheelchair when we got off? I did, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. And they said no because it's not booked. So it's an admin error then. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. No, it's okay.
Okay,
Ma,
so
excuse me. This lady that was walking with my mum and the wheelchair lady, when we got to where we needed to be, I had a pink suitcase, and the lady just took it off me and
Snatched it.
anyway, okay.
And
by the way.
She didn't ask, and she just
Okay.
and she didn't say a please or a thank you.
Okay.
Oh, by the way.
Go on, no. Just let me deal with it, please, my love. Go and stand.
This
No.
lady at the,
Listen, we need to deal with this, okay? Go over there, please. Thank you.
This lady at
Amari, listen, time is ticking. Come on, go over there, please.
it deaf or like
Please listen. Please listen to me, okay? Please. Go over there. Okay, so I just checked with my phone because honestly I'm very exhausted right now. Yes, I did say that 100%. I asked for a wheelchair, and what was then relayed on the ground when I got here was it's not booked. So whatever's happened by way of admin.
Who told? Sorry. Who? Do you know if it was someone on the aircraft or someone on the ground here that told you?
No, it was someone on the ground here. So the lady that was dealing with my friend's assistants, because I was confused. There was literally like 4
It says
people
it right
there.
here. Your wheelchair requested.
Oh my
It says it
god.
right there. So I'm not quite sure why someone would tell
There
you
was
that.
literally like 4 people. Okay, 4 people, members of staff from Virgin, and then there was the lady that was dealing with my friend and her wheelchair. And there was these 4 people just standing around, literally doing nothing.
So one person had a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Okay. But you needed
And
2.
I said, well, hold on, like we also booked a wheelchair, and then they said, no, you didn't book a wheelchair. And then literally like lumbered me with all of the luggage for everything. And this made us late.
Okay. So and you had a connecting flight.
Yeah. So our connecting flight was obviously gone now, which was at like 6:17, which I can give you the ticket for that. if you
Just give
want
me
to
1
see
second. Okay, just wait right here. I just need to check something.
it. Okay. So actually, it even says it on the boarding pass that I have a wheelchair assistance. I'm sorry, but it's on the ticket. Like, I'm not lying. It's on the ticket. And there was a mistake here. Whoever made the mistake, I don't actually care because I'm not making a personal jab at anyone.
1 second.
I'm tired. I want my son to have somewhere to sleep. We're stranded
Yes.
now.
We need to get to the bottom of it first, okay? I understand you're tired and all of that, but we need to speak about this first. She said that she asked you if you wanted a wheelchair and you said no for your son.
I asked if you wanted the strap. You told me no. When you
Okay, but
the
do you know,
aircraft.
let me explain something to you, yeah? I'm autistic.
I
And
understand
when you're asking me a question, let me speak. When you're asking me a direct question, when I've just got off a very long flight with my son who also is autistic, I'm not going to be able to answer that question there and then because I have delayed processing. So that's why I rang the assistants a week beforehand to book it, so that it was on the ticket, so I didn't have to explain that. So the fact that that information may have been relayed differently to you,
Yes.
That's why it was pre-booked. All right, first of all, I am on this flight because my son is also autistic. They put me on it because I understand.
So then you
Yes, I
understand
did.
there's a delayed processing.
I understand what you're saying. That's why I firstly asked, do you need a wheelchair assistant? Because that's the only assistance that we provide. We don't give special assistance or someone because we no longer do it. Like London Heathrow, they do not have that assistance. JFK also do not have that assistance. That's why I offered a wheelchair. right? You said that you didn't want a wheelchair. I also offered one for your son and asked if you could find a strap. You denied it. She got a wheelchair assistance, and when we got to the custom area, right, I asked her, the lady was going to take you to Terminal 8, which was a faster process. She decided not to refuse the wheelchair and said that she was, yes, she was concerned about your friend, and she said that you wanted to come out the wheelchair and walk with your friend because she was concerned. Because I saw how agitated you was. I even spoke with your son and calmed him down, right down, and I gave him fist pump everything just to make sure, all right, just to calm everything down.
But the thing is though, like I said, the reason why it was pre-booked is for that very reason. I cannot give you an answer when I've got off the flight. I don't have
ma'am, we can't force a wheelchair on someone. Even though you booked it in advance, people book a wheelchair.
But why ask? Like, why didn't you just bring the wheelchair? Because it was already on there.
We can't just assume that, man.
When you got up there, we had all our wheelchairs there. When we asked FSM, right, she told we had a party of 4 and only one person needed wheelchair assistance. When you got off the flight,
I'm getting overwhelmed even as you're speaking. You're giving me, I'm tired, I've not slept. You're giving me, let me speak. You're giving me
Mom,
information.
calm down, calm down. Calm down. Maury, calm down. Maury, calm down.
Thank you.
Calm
Go over there, please.
Your tickets from with American Airlines, that's a separate flight, correct?
Why are you asking me that question? I'm just talking about this issue.
Okay. All right,
talking about this issue because I understand what she just said in regards to she helped my son. Yes, she did, but the protocol's there for a reason. There's a reason why it's on the ticket. Because I actually expected for it to be ready when we got off the plane.
Okay.
When she said, do you want a wheelchair or not, I honestly thought that they were going to help us regardless because there was literally 4 members of staff.
When we were going to get off the aeroplane,
I actually thought...
you asked them then and they said, no, there isn't, there's only one for me.
Yeah, but that was the other lady from who was pushing you. That's what I was trying to say. It was her that said it, but not this lady. Because when this lady came, it wasn't at the same time. The first person who came got you the wheelchair off the plane. And it was her that I asked. And she said no.
Just follow this line, okay?
Then this second lady came, and then she asked me, and then I said, no, we don't have it. Because I was confused by that point.
You didn't say no for no wheelchair. You said no. I don't remember what you said no for. I forgot. I can forget.
I was asking you pertaining to your connecting flight. Is it a separate ticket?
Yeah, it's a separate ticket.
Alright, so as far as we're concerned, our responsibility was to take you from from London Heathrow to JFK. Okay, pertaining to your connecting flight, you missed that flight. I'm sorry that you missed that flight, but that has nothing to do with our flight. Our flight came in on time. Even if it came in late, there wasn't anything.
Are you actually serious right now?
I'm 100% serious.
You have not listened to what I've said.
I heard everything that you said.
Because you have brought someone out that was an incident that happened after the original, what happened at the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the person, and you're just basically just trying to say that you're not liable when you are. It's on the ticket. Can I have the boarding pass, please? It's on the boarding pass. Okay. If it states it on the boarding pass.
Yes, but they asked you at the aircraft if you needed it.
Yeah, but it's not down. Listen, if someone has a disability, it's not down to asking them when they're not in a competent mind to answer the question. And I actually, as my friend has stated, I have a witness that stated, when the other person gave her the wheelchair, she said, do you need any assistance? I said, yes, we have a wheelchair booked. And she said, no. So when we got to the second person, which was the lady that you just brought to me now,
we kind of give up by then.
By that point, I was confused because there's everybody out here, 4 people. I didn't know what was going on, and she goes, have you got wheelchair booked? I said, no, I don't think so. That was my response. Yeah, so clearly, along the line, the liability sits with Virgin. It doesn't sit with me as a disabled passenger. It doesn't sit with my son as a minor disabled passenger. It's not our fault, and there needs to be some remedy for this because we're not going to be stranded in the airport with 2 children. I'm sorry, it's not happening.
Okay. All right, so this is what I can tell you. You will have to, if it's up to you what you want to do, I can't tell you what to do. If it is that you want to book a hotel or something of that sort, that's up to you.
We can't book a hotel though, it's down to you guys.
No, it's not up to us. We didn't do anything wrong, man.
You didn't do anything wrong,
That
okay.
is correct.
You didn't do anything wrong.
Hello. Oh, you got the paper.
I mean, it's actually a joke that you're saying you guys didn't do anything wrong. When we have a witness stating what happened,
based on the
we've given
information,
you a timeline of what happened. There's evidence on the ticket of what happened. There's evidence on your system of what
we have two
was
more
lied before.
witnesses.
based on
But
the
you're still telling me
information,
no.
based on the information you gave me, based on the information that she gave me, like I said, she asked you, do you need assistance? You said no.
Where's the other person?
Which other person?
Where's the lady that actually was doing the wheelchair? Because she didn't have
We
a
don't
wheelchair.
deal with people that do wheelchair. That's a separate company that do the wheelchairs.
So if it's a separate company that do the wheelchairs, then why is this lady asking me if I have a wheelchair?
Because she works for us. She was there. That's why I'm able to speak to her.
But why was she asking me if I need a wheelchair if she doesn't
Because
deal with the wheelchair?
yeah, because then we request a wheelchair from that company. We can't just assume that you need a wheelchair. We can't do that. We have to ask. And if it is that she asked you and you said no, then it's no.
Huh?
Who was supposed to look after my luggage?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know. Because no one's actually taking accountability.
Maybe the second woman.
Is it acceptable for this to happen? Is it acceptable to tell someone who's already got wheelchair assistance on the ticket to carry
Like
all of the luggage?
Passengers pre-book a wheelchair. Sometimes when they get here, would you like a wheelchair? We say you have a wheelchair in the system. They say no. So we still
She
ask.
actually didn't say would you like. I'm pretty sure she said do you have
That's
it
what she
booked?
just said. She said
Like,
she
do
asked
you
you.
have-
You said she asked
Yeah?
you and you told her no, but you said that because of your disability you wasn't able to recollect.
Pardon?
Reasons why you think this way.
Yeah.
Just come off the long flight.
Oh, we have to get into check the first next flight. Will they be able to open it?
I will never, ever, ever fly with this airline ever again. I have never been dealt with like this with any airline, ever. I have a child with a disability and I'm
understand
being
that,
left
but-
in an airport. We can't afford a hotel.
Okay.
We are stuck
You
here.
have traveler's insurance?
No. And this is not down to me, it's down to you guys. That is the administration error.
Well, that's something that you'll have to speak to our customer relations. There isn't anything I could do further to assist. If it is that you were at fault or we brought you in late or something like that, I completely get it.
But
And like I said,
but it is at fault.
Miss,
Because when I booked
miss,
it,
miss,
but it is your
Miss,
fault.
just hear me out, please. As far as we're concerned, we brought you from London Heathrow to JFK. Okay?
You didn't fulfill what was obligated.
We're not
to
responsible to get you to American
No, but you are
Airlines.
responsible for doing the assistance that was booked. I'm not
Okay.
telling you to get me to my flight, but if that hadn't have happened in the first instance where I didn't have to take all of this luggage on my own, where I'm having to deal with both of these children because they both have needs, and I have my disabilities, we wouldn't have been late. That's why the assistance was there.
I understand.
And I volunteered to take my mum, but my mum said no, and then the lady took it off. And also, that lady, and also, the lady, there's a lady there at the end of there, and she said, she said, you're not gonna make the flight.
Yeah, that's not anything to do with
She was
Yeah.
being.
That's separate. That's Mari mind. That's separate.
Who?
I'm really sorry, but it's nothing that I can do at this point.
I want to tell Richard.
There is something you can do, sir.
There isn't
That's not
anything I can do.
true. There is 100% something you can do. What is your position? You're a manager,
If there
right?
was something that I could have done, I would have gone ahead and done it.
You're
I
a
won't be
manager?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so therefore you have the authority to make a decision to put us somewhere so we have somewhere safe to
That's not
sleep.
my decision to make.
So whose decision is it then?
That's your responsibility.
It's not. It's
Yes,
not
it is.
there. How? By what law?
This is your responsibility.
Under
You
what
came
law?
here to the United States of America.
Okay, so the Americans
So then
with
that's-
Disabilities Act is not applicable in this
Sorry?
situation.
What's that?
The Americans with Disabilities Act
No, it has
is
nothing
not
to do with that.
applicable in this
It has-
situation.
It has nothing to
It
do
has
with
nothing to do with the law.
Miss, we brought you from
It has nothing to do with
to
the law.
JFK. That's our responsibility.
Which wasn't fulfilled.
Ma'am,
That's what I'm saying
but
to you.
we asked you if you need a wheelchair. You said no.
It's on on here.
But you
It's
said
on my
no,
boarding
regardless
pass.
if it's on there or
It's
not.
on my boarding
If
pass.
we ask you if
And
you
I
did a wheelchair,
asked
you
the
said
other
no.
person that was contracted by
Yes.
Virgin.
We
and she
asked you
said
if you did a
no.
wheelchair, you said no.
She said no.
You said that to me, you said no.
Just if you just have goodwill, can't you just get through tonight? That's
that's-
all we're asking you to do.
I'm sorry. That's
No.
something if you want,
we have children.
you could book a hotel. If it is that you think there isn't anything I'm doing correct, you speak to customer relations later on. You keep a receipt. I'm going to email customer relations as well, so they'll be aware of you guys' situation. So when you phone them up and speak to them, then they'll be able to decide whether or not they'll give you a refund for your hotel. Them and then verify whatever they might have said on there.
Can you give me a time frame for how long that's going to take?
I can't say. I really don't.
Wait, Mom, the lady down
So
You see, I was able to speak to my staff because I know who did this one. I know who was there. So I was able to call her just to find out.
It's not her, like it's not
No,
your
but it's
individual
right.
staff
This is what
member.
I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying to you. It's not her. Because when she got there, it was after the fact that I spoke to the lady that was dealing with my friend's wheelchair. And it was her that explicitly said, no, you don't have that.
So the person, you said at the aircraft door, the person from from the wheelchair company who told you that you don't have a wheelchair book?
Exactly. At the door, because we had the bags at the door, and then this lady came for my friend with the wheelchair, and I said, where's our one? Like, we had one booked. And she goes, no, you don't have anything booked. Point blank. And then your member of staff joined us shortly afterwards, and then asked me, did you have a wheelchair? And I said, no, I don't think so. So by that point, I was told that I didn't have one booked. So I was just relaying the information that I was told. And that's what we need to verify. Because that's what's happened. Mari, come here, please. Come here. Come here.
Excuse me 1 second.
Come here.
Just to quickly say as well that when you listen to the audio with me speaking to the Virgin Atlantic manager on the ground about everything that had happened, because we ended up missing our connecting flight to Miami, we ended up having to incur a cost which was over £500 for the hotel that was pre-booked in Miami, as well as the flight to Miami that we had to incur losses. And then we had to book 2 additional days in New York last minute, you know, stranded at JFK. But yeah, anyway, as I was saying, during that conversation, I got very confused because they were asking me repetitive questions over and over again. I was already tapped out like hours before this, to be honest. It was just too much, like dealing with both the children whose needs were not being met. My son didn't have his wheelchair. I was overwhelmed and I was essentially feeling like I was responsible for everybody and I just didn't have the capacity. So when they were asking me these questions, some of my answers might, you know, not be linear, but just look at the timeline of things, of what's happened, you know, and the actual evidence. Which will tell the story a lot better, I think, than I could have done in that moment. Because I know that I mentioned something about physical disabilities, that I was told that I couldn't get a wheelchair because I didn't have physical disabilities. That's not true. I wasn't told that directly by the manager on board, but this was my perception in that moment where I was basically not able to communicate very well because I felt like I had been treated as if, because my disabilities and that of my son is not a physical one, that we were essentially disregarded. So if you are a disabled passenger or a carer to a disabled person or child, if you're a parent carer, I would strongly advise you not to fly with Virgin Atlantic at all. The whole experience left me feeling like we were stripped of our dignity. I was stripped of my dignity, my friend also was, because it was distressing for her because she did not know what was happening with her luggage. She had a bag that went missing also during this episode that happened. you know, the children were stripped of their dignity because they had needs. My son needed a wheelchair, and the whole experience was absolute hell. And I would not advise anyone to fly with Virgin Atlantic. And if you are going to pass through JFK as an airport, be very mindful that their special assistance is the absolute bare minimum, even for people with physical disabilities. So if you have an invisible disability, you're going to have an extremely hard time navigating that airport. So it's just something to be aware of.